Welcome back to Learning English with Noel. I'm your host, Noel, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you joining us today for another exciting episode dedicated to unlocking the mysteries of the English language.
And I'm Sarah, equally thrilled to be here and to dive deep into a fascinating aspect of English that often leaves learners scratching their heads.
That's right, Sarah. Today, we're going to tackle something that adds so much flavor and color to our conversations, but can also be a bit of a tricky beast to master: English idioms.
Indeed, idioms are those quirky phrases where the meaning isn't immediately obvious from the individual words. They're like secret codes within the language, and once you crack them, your English suddenly becomes so much more natural and expressive.
Exactly. And we've got a fantastic lineup of idioms for you today. Some common, some a little less so, but all incredibly useful. Our goal, as always, is to make learning fun, engaging, and most importantly, practical for your everyday English conversations.
So, whether you're a beginner just starting your English journey or an advanced learner looking to polish your fluency, stick around, because we promise you'll learn something new and have a few laughs along the way.
And remember, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Learning English with Noel. What are idioms and why are they important? So, before we jump into specific idioms, let's just briefly touch upon what idioms really are and why they are so crucial for English. Learners, Sarah, how would you define an idiom for our listeners?
Great question, Noel. At its core, an idiom is a phrase or expression whose meaning cannot be deduced from the ordinary meanings of its individual words. Think of it like this: if you literally translated an idiom word for word, it would make absolutely no sense in most cases.
That's a perfect way to put it. For example, if someone says they're feeling under the weather, they're not literally standing beneath a cloud.
Precisely, it means they're feeling a bit unwell or sick. And that's the beauty and the challenge of idioms. They are deeply embedded in the culture and history of the language.
And why are they important for English learners to master, beyond just understanding them?
Well, for several reasons. Firstly, native speakers use idioms all the time, often without even realizing it. So, if you want to understand natural conversations, TV shows, movies, or even just casual chatter, you need to be familiar with them.
Absolutely. It's like trying to understand a secret handshake if you don't know the code.
Exactly. Secondly, using idioms yourself makes your English sound much more natural, fluent, and sophisticated. It shows you have a deeper understanding of the language beyond just grammar and vocabulary. It adds color and personality to your speech.
So, it's about sounding less like a textbook and more like a real person.
Precisely. And thirdly, idioms often convey complex ideas or emotions in a concise and impactful way. Learning them expands your communicative toolkit.
All right, that's a fantastic overview. I think our listeners are now primed and ready to dive into some actual idioms. Sarah, do you want to kick us off with our first idiom of the day?
I would love to, Noel, and I've got a great one to start with, something you might hear quite often. Our first idiom is spill the beans.
Ah, spill the beans, a classic. So, Sarah, what exactly does it mean to spill the beans?
Well, Noel, if you spill the beans, it means you reveal a secret or confidential information, often accidentally or prematurely. Imagine you're holding a bag of beans, and suddenly they all fall out. The secret is out.
That's a great visual. So, it's not about actual beans, but about revealing information that was supposed to be kept secret. Can you give us an example sentence?
Absolutely. Let's say you're planning a surprise party for a friend, and you accidentally tell them about it. You could say, "Oh no, I accidentally spilled the beans about Sarah's surprise party."
Perfect. Or, the detective finally got the suspect to spill the beans about the hidden treasure.
Exactly. It often implies that the information wasn't meant to be shared, at least not yet. It can be done intentionally or unintentionally.
What are some common situations where you might hear this idiom used?
You'll hear it a lot when people are talking about secrets, surprises, or confidential plans. For instance, if someone asks, "Who told you about that? Did you spill the beans?" Or, "Don't spill the beans to John, it's a secret."
So, it's quite versatile. You could use it in a serious context, like a crime drama, or in a more light-hearted, everyday situation with friends.
Precisely, and that's one of the beauties of many idioms, their flexibility. Okay, Noel, ready for your turn. What's your first idiom for us today?
I am ready, Sarah. And this next idiom is perfect for a day like today. Here, California, where it's been a bit grey outside. My idiom is raining cats and dogs.
Ah, raining cats and dogs. Another absolute classic, and one that often causes a chuckle among learners. So, Noel, what in the world does it mean if it's raining cats and dogs?
Well, Sarah, it certainly doesn't mean that actual felines and canines are falling from the sky. When it's raining cats and dogs, it means it's raining extremely heavily, very hard. It's a torrential downpour.
Exactly. It's one of those idioms that, if taken literally, would be quite terrifying, so it just means a really, really strong rain. Can you give us an example?
Of course, we had to cancel our picnic because it suddenly started raining cats and dogs. Or, don't forget your umbrella. It's raining cats and dogs out there.
Excellent examples. It perfectly conveys the intensity of the rain. Where do you think this idiom might have come from? It's such a strange image.
That's a great question, and the origins of many idioms are fascinating, though sometimes debated. One popular theory for raining cats and dogs dates back to the 17th century. During heavy rains, poor drainage systems would often wash dead animals, like cats and dogs, into the streets, giving the appearance that they had rained down.
Wow, that's quite a vivid and a little bit grim origin story, but it certainly helps you remember the meaning. Are there any common alternatives people use for very heavy rain?
Definitely. You might hear pouring down, a downpour, or a deluge. But raining cats and dogs definitely has that idiomatic flair that adds a bit more character. All right, Sarah, your turn. What's our next idiom?
My next idiom is one that often comes up when people are facing a difficult or unpleasant situation. It's bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet. That sounds like it involves some pain. What does it mean?
You're on the right track, Noel. To bite the bullet means to face a difficult or unpleasant situation with courage and endurance, often by enduring pain or discomfort. It's about accepting something unavoidable and tough.
So, it's like gritting your teeth and just getting through it.
Precisely. Imagine a soldier in a battlefield before the days of anesthesia having to bite a bullet during a painful operation to distract themselves from the pain. That's the imagery behind it.
That's a powerful origin. So, can you give us an example sentence where someone might bite the bullet?
Certainly. I didn't want to work extra hours, but I had to bite the bullet and finish the project by the deadline. Or, he hated public speaking, but he knew he had to bite the bullet and deliver the presentation.
Those are perfect examples. It conveys that sense of reluctance, but also the necessity of enduring something difficult. Are there any synonyms or similar phrases?
You could say grin and bear it, which has a similar meaning of enduring something unpleasant without complaining. but bite the bullet often implies a more active act of facing the difficulty head-on, to face. The music is another related idiom, but that one usually means accepting the consequences of your actions.
So, bite the bullet is about dealing with the pain or discomfort, while face the music is about dealing with the repercussions. Good distinction.
Okay, Noel, what's your next one for us?
My next idiom is one you might hear right before someone is about to perform or do something important. It's break a leg.
Break a leg. Now, this is one that can really confuse learners because if you take it literally, it sounds like terrible advice. So what does break a leg actually mean, Noel?
You're absolutely right, Sarah. It sounds awful if you don't know the idiom. To break a leg actually means to wish someone good luck, especially before a performance, an exam, or any challenging event. It's the exact opposite of what the words suggest.
Exactly. It's one of those wonderfully counterintuitive idioms, so you'd say it to an actor before they go on stage.
Precisely. Good luck with your play tonight. Break a leg. Or, you have your job interview tomorrow. Break a leg.
So, it's essentially a theatrical superstition, right? Where did this one come from?
That's the most widely accepted theory. In the theater world, wishing someone good luck was considered bad luck. So, actors would use the opposite phrase, break a leg, to ward off evil spirits or bad fortune. One theory is that it refers to breaking the leg line, which is where actors waited backstage before going on. If you broke a leg, you got on stage and performed. Another theory suggests it refers to taking a bow, which involves bending your leg.
That's fascinating. So it's rooted in superstition and tradition. Are there any other similar good luck phrases?
You could just say good luck, but break a leg adds a bit more personality and cultural nuance. It's a very common phrase, especially in performance-related contexts. All right, Sarah, what's next on your idiom list?
My next idiom is one you'd use when it's time to leave. It's hit the road.
Hit the road. This one sounds pretty straightforward, but I'm curious about its exact meaning and usage.
You're right, Noel. This one is a bit more literal than some of our other idioms today. To hit the road means to leave, to depart, or to start a journey. It simply implies that it's time to go.
So, if you're wrapping up a gathering, you might say, well, it's getting late. I should probably hit the road.
Exactly. Or, we need to hit the road early tomorrow if we want to avoid traffic. It's a very common and informal way to say you're leaving.
Where do you think this idiom comes from? It sounds like something related to travel.
It's quite literally about starting a journey on a road. Its origins are pretty direct, likely coming from the era of road travel becoming more common, especially with the advent of cars. Hitting the road implies setting out upon it.
So, it's not like hitting something aggressively, but more like making contact with the road to begin your journey.
Precisely. It's a very common and widely understood idiom. You wouldn't typically use it in a very formal setting, but in casual conversation, it's perfectly natural. All right, Noel, it's your turn for our next idiom.
My next idiom is about agreement and understanding, something crucial in any conversation. It's on the same page.
On the same page, this is an excellent idiom for everyday communication. What does it mean when people are on the same page, Noel?
When two or more people are on the same page, it means they are in agreement, understand each other, and have a shared understanding of a situation or plan. It implies alignment of thoughts or goals.
So, it's about being in sync, intellectually speaking.
Exactly. Imagine reading a book with someone and you're both looking at the exact same page. You're seeing the same information and interpreting it together.
That's a great visual. So, you might say, before we start the project, let's make sure we're all on the same page about the objectives.
Perfect. Or, after our meeting, I think we're finally on the same page regarding the new strategy. It's incredibly useful in business, project management, and even just personal relationships.
I can see that. It conveys clarity and mutual understanding. Are there any common situations where you'd particularly hear this idiom?
Often in meetings, collaborations, or when planning something, people will ask, "Are we all on the same page?" Or "Let's get on the same page before proceeding." It's about preventing misunderstandings. All right, Sarah, what's our next idiom?
My next idiom is one we use when something is very, very expensive. It costs an arm and a leg.
Costs an arm and a leg. That sounds incredibly painful and expensive. What does it mean?
You've got the right idea, Noel. If something costs an arm and a leg, it means it's extremely expensive, exorbitantly priced. It implies that you'd have to sacrifice a great deal, or something very valuable to afford it.
So, like paying a huge amount of money?
Exactly. I really want that new car, but it costs an arm and a leg. Or, the concert tickets for Taylor Swift cost an arm and a leg, but it was worth it.
I can imagine. That idiom perfectly conveys the high price. Do we know the origin of this rather dramatic phrase?
The exact origin is a bit debated, but one popular theory links it to the cost of war. During wartime, losing an arm or a leg was a significant sacrifice, so anything that demanded a similarly high cost, figuratively, was said to cost an arm and a leg. Another theory relates it to portrait painting, where including arms and legs in a portrait made it significantly more expensive.
That's really interesting. Both origins connect to something of high value or sacrifice. Are there any other ways to say something is very expensive?
Plenty. You could say it's pricey, it's a fortune, it's daylight robbery, or it's extortionate, but costs an arm and a leg is very common and adds a bit of emphatic flair. Okay, Noel, what's your final idiom for us today?
My final idiom for today is about relieving a burden. It's get something off your chest.
Get something off your chest. That sounds like a big sigh of relief is involved. What does this idiom mean, Noel?
You're spot on, Sarah. To get something off your chest means to openly express something that has been bothering you, worrying you, or making you feel guilty, thereby relieving yourself of the burden. It's about confiding in someone or confessing something.
So it's like a mental or emotional release.
Exactly. Imagine a heavy weight on your chest when you express what's bothering you. That weight is lifted.
That's a really clear image. Can you give us an example?
I've been feeling stressed about my work, so I decided to get it off my chest and talk to my manager. Or, after arguing with my friend, I called him to apologize and get it off my chest.
Perfect examples. It implies a sense of relief once the words are spoken. Is there a distinction between getting something off your chest and just talking about something?
Yes, definitely. When you get something off your chest, there's usually an emotional weight or a secret involved. It's not just casual conversation. It's about unburdening yourself. It implies that the thing has been bothering you for a while.
So, it's about sharing something that's been internal and causing some distress. A very useful idiom for emotional intelligence.
Wow, we've covered 8 fantastic idioms today. I hope our listeners are already feeling more confident about incorporating them into their English.
Me too, and to really solidify that understanding, let's do a quick fire round. Noel, I'll give you a scenario, and you tell me which idiom fits best.
I love a challenge. Bring it on, Sarah.
Okay, scenario 1. Your friend is about to go on stage for a big performance, and they're really nervous. What do you say to them?
Easy, good luck, break a leg.
Correct. Scenario 2. You just found out your friend accidentally told everyone about the surprise party you were planning. What did your friend do?
Oh no, they spilled the beans.
Exactly. Scenario 3. You've been meaning to tell your sister about a difficult problem you've been having, and you finally do. What did you do?
I finally got it off my chest.
Perfect. Scenario 4. You're trying to make plans with a group of friends, but everyone has different ideas. What do you need to do?
We need to make sure we're all on the same page.
Excellent. Last one. You were planning to go for a run, but when you look outside, the rain is absolutely pouring down. What's happening?
It's raining cats and dogs.
Fantastic, Noel, you aced it.
Well, I had a great teacher today. And speaking of our listeners, we always love to hear from you. We received a few questions about idioms from our community this week. So let's tackle one or two.
Great idea. Here's one from Maria in Brazil. How can I remember so many idioms? It feels overwhelming.
That's a brilliant question, Maria, and one we hear a lot. My top tip is not to try and memorize them all at once. Focus on a few at a time. Use flashcards. Try to create your own sentences. And most importantly, listen for them in context. The more you hear them and use them, the more naturally they'll stick.
Absolutely. And try to understand the imagery or the historical context behind the idiom, if available, like with raining cats and dogs. Remembering the old drainage systems helps. Or bite the bullet, thinking of the soldier. The story often helps it stick.
That's a great point, Sarah. Another question here. From Kenji in Japan. Is it okay to use idioms even if I'm not a native speaker?
Kenji? Absolutely yes. In fact, it's encouraged. Using idioms, when appropriate, will make your English sound much more natural and fluent. The key is to use them correctly and in the right context. Don't force them. Start with the most common ones we discussed today.
Precisely. If you're unsure, maybe listen to how native speakers use them first, or try them out with a language partner. Practice makes perfect. And that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode of Learning English with Noel. We hope you've enjoyed diving into the wonderful world of English idioms with us today.
It's been a blast, Noel. We've covered spill the beans, raining cats and dogs, bite the bullet, break a leg, hit the road on the same page, costs an arm and a leg. And get something off your chest. That's a lot of idiomatic wisdom.
It certainly is. And remember, practice is key. Try to use these idioms in your conversations this week. Listen out for them in movies, TV shows, and podcasts. The more you engage with them, the more they'll become a natural part of your vocabulary.
Don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel, Learning English with Noel, to watch this episode, and check out our other videos for more English learning tips and tricks.
And we love hearing from you. Leave your comments below. Tell us your favorite idiom, or ask us any questions you have for future episodes. Your feedback helps us create content that's most helpful for you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep exploring the amazing world of English.
Until next time, this has been Noel
and Sara.